Hi guys, and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be looking at my third DIY sketchbook. And this was my third one I made in 2019. And I'm not really making them anymore because I don't really need to. In an emergency, I might. It actually worked out cheaper to buy the sketchbooks than to make them myself, because this particular paper is 280 GSM, and we get a wallet for about $2.90, containing 12 sheets, and 12 cut in half is, you get 24, again 48. No, you don't get 48, honestly. I need another another wallet. So I was getting for about 3 walletfuls, or 4 fully sketchbooks, and it wasn't really worth the money in the end, plus buying the treasury tags and obviously cutting up serial card for fun. So it's good for an emergency when I don't want to ruin a sketchbook I bought. Like, I don't want to ruin my Arteza sketchbooks. I want to try, not best work, but I don't want just scribbles in it, you know. So this is for real preliminary stuff and testing. So I thought I would be having a look again at this Schmink gouache, because I wasn't quite happy with this particular green. It's called Phthalo Green, and in my video on my channel about Schmink Academy gouache, I had trouble saying the name. It was either Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green. I was dismissive because it irritated me. It doesn't actually matter how old the paint is if it's still in the shrink wrap and air has not gotten to it. But for this particular one, seems to be a problem, because it seems to have separated quite a lot. The pigment is called PG7 Phthalo Cyan Ingun, something like that. I've been shaking it a lot, and I can't really hear the excess liquid that I did before. But when the actual paint comes out the tube, it's grainy. And so it's liquidy, watery and grainy. And so I've been mixing it with the palette knife. You can see it's coming out a little better than it was in my initial video. But I'm not too sure really. So I want to just test it on this paper. And it might help you guys if you're having problems with a particular paint or something. Particular colour might be acting up. This might help, because I'm using a palette knife just to really get in there and constantly mix all of it together. And you want to do it for a good 5 minutes, constantly pushing it back and forth, flatten it, scoop it up, back and forth, and completely repeat the process, because what you're doing is pushing the pigment and the binder together again. Because obviously sometimes if paint is left in the tube, I imagine it, obviously some of them separate if the binder is not keeping the pigment together. I haven't usually had trouble with Schmink, whether it's academy, college, or they're professional top of the range. But this particular one has been a bother. It's cracked on the paper, it's been grainy, it's just not nice to use. Now here it's looking smooth, but when can you see, I don't know if it's bubbles, just here, it is bits of paint. For some reason, just don't want to mix. There's a lot of bubbles and that's fine, but you just keep going. I mean, it is getting better, this texture, and I'm going to be then, once you've really mixed, putting it neat onto the paper, and then I shall see what happens. And just smooth it out, because you are supposed to be able to use gouache neat. I mean, that's the point. I always feel like a builder with this. Like I'm, what's the word? You know, I'm tiling or something with my cement. You can get some lovely techniques for using a palette knife. It's great for doing, that kind of technique is great for doing stone effects. So you put some, say, grey paint down and then go like that, and you've got your texture within the stonework. And it's good just to have a page in an old sketchbook where you test out new tools. If this has bored you in any way, you let me know and I will not do it again. But I thought it would be interesting. It's interesting to me, but I know not everybody is the same. And I'm then going to see, when it's dry, I'm going to leave a lump of it here. Because I want to see what it's like when it dries. It is looking, I have to say, much better than what it was. And that's where I will leave it for the minute, just getting a tissue and wiping my palette knife. And that's all you have to do, is if you've got a rag, you know, artists use rags a lot, but I don't, I'm bad. I use tissue or kitchen roll, because it's just easier for me, and, you know, that's how I am. Anyway, let's not get into ecology and saving the planet right now. We are focusing on the paint, and I'm leaving it here, different thickness levels, and when it's dry, I'm hoping it's not going to be grainy or cracking, particularly this thick area. I hope it's not going to dry. There's three. 1, 2, and 3 are the thick areas of paint. Because I'm quite liking how it's drying here at the minute. There's lots of different, it's almost how it would be if you've added water, you know, the watercolour effect. So it's quite a fun thing to do if you're looking for sketchbook ideas of filling up a page. This is rather fun. And you don't have to have bad paint. You can just mix up some paint with your palette knife and start practicing different techniques with your knife. You can do that, tap it, scrape it, all of that. It's really good fun. And if you're interested, I can do a more in-depth video about how to use a palette knife. But you let me know in the comments below. And I'll come back when this is dry. So everything is completely dried. even this thick part here. Now, there is a little cracking on this very thick part, even though I mixed it really well. And I don't know on camera whether you can actually see that. But right on the thick part there is. Now what I thought was quite interesting, once it had all dried, I was starting to see shapes. And here I can see a dolphin. And here I can see a dolphin. So this one is leaping down into the splashes of water, and this one is leaping up out of the water. So I thought with my Sharpie black permanent pen, I'm just going to indicate that. I'm not going to change the line. Obviously that one didn't come out very well, but this one definitely. And you've got the water splashes. My point being that even just mess on the paper or experiments can be changed into a nice little scene. So again, I could probably use this colour, this tube of paint. It's not a write-off, but it would have to be done thin and really stretched out if I use a palette knife. So I don't really know what happened to it. All I know is it's separating. And I don't believe transport did it, or storage did it, is what I mean, not transport. I don't believe storage did do it, because it would quite easily mix back together once I've been, doing it and bringing it to room temperature. But it just doesn't seem to do it. It could be it is just, student, academy gouache, and I'm expecting too much. But again, the Arteza, if it was cheaper, hasn't done it. The Arteza red one did crack, but I used it completely neat, without water, like I'm doing with this. And as I've said, gouache is not supposed to crack, especially when you use it neat. You're allowed to use it neat. It's another use for gouache. You use it neat, a little diluted, or totally diluted. That's the purpose. So I hope you've had fun with this little video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!